Have you ever wondered about certain religious rules and thought, is there something more going on here? Well, today we're tackling a fascinating one from Islamic tradition. Why is wearing gold forbidden for men? It's a question rooted deep in faith, for sure. But what if modern science has something to add to the conversation? We're going to dive right in and explore where ancient texts and today's research might just connect.
So this is the big question we're unpacking. Is this rule strictly a matter of religious obedience, a test of one's faith, or could there actually be a scientific, even a biological, reason behind this guidance that's been around for centuries? We're going to look at both sides of the coin, and we have to start with the foundation of the rule itself.
You know, to really get the why, you've got to go back to the source. And this prohibition isn't some vague suggestion. It comes from very clear statements in the Hadith, the collected sayings and actions of the Prophet Muhammad. Let's take a look at a couple of the most important ones.
Okay, so this first one is about as direct as it gets. The story goes that the Prophet held up silk in one hand and gold in the other, and just laid it out there, these things are okay for women, but not for the men. There's really no gray area. It's a foundational, crystal clear statement.
Wow. Now this second one, the imagery is just so powerful, isn't it? He doesn't just say, hey, you shouldn't wear that. He compares wearing a gold ring to literally holding a burning piece of coal in your hand. The story even says the man threw the ring down, and when someone told him he could at least sell it, he refused, saying he'd never pick up something the Prophet himself had cast aside. That really shows you just how seriously this was taken.
All right, so the religious foundation is solid and clear. But now let's do a complete 180 and put on a different set of glasses. Some modern scientific theories have popped up that actually propose some biological reasons that seem to line up with this ancient rule. So let's break down the key ideas that our sources point to.
So the scientific angle that we're exploring here really leans on these three main points. The whole theory is that gold might interact with male and female bodies in totally different ways, and it zeroes in on our hormones, our immune systems, and the body's natural ability to process stuff. Let's take them one by one.
So here's how the proposed mechanism works. The theory goes that super tiny microscopic particles of gold, ions, can actually get absorbed right through your skin and make their way into your bloodstream. And the hypothesis from there is that these little particles could start messing with male hormones, specifically testosterone, which could potentially impact things like fertility and sperm count.
And it doesn't stop there. The second scientific point that's proposed here has to do with our immune system. The idea is that those same tiny gold particles floating around in the bloodstream might get in the way of our white blood cells doing their job. And since those cells are basically the security team for our entire body, anything that interferes with them could, over the long haul, potentially weaken a man's ability to fight off illness.
Okay, and this right here brings us to the most fascinating part of the whole scientific theory. Why would gold supposedly affect men but not women? Well, according to this perspective, the answer is baked right into the fundamental biological differences between the sexes.
This is really the heart of the biological argument. The theory suggests women have these built-in defense mechanisms. It's proposed that their bodies can actually get rid of these tiny gold particles through the menstrual cycle. On top of that, the female hormone estrogen is thought to help cancel out any negative effects. Men, on the other hand, don't have these specific processes, so the theory goes that they're at a higher risk of these particles building up in organs like the liver and kidneys over time. So we've looked at the ancient religious texts, and we've looked at these modern scientific theories. Where does that leave us? We have these two completely different ways of knowing things, one based on revelation and faith, the other on observation and science. But what's so incredible is where they might actually be pointing in the exact same direction.
And really, this is the main takeaway being presented. The idea that a rule set down more than 1,400 years ago finds a potential echo in some modern biological theories. It's just a fascinating thought, isn't it? A possible convergence of ancient wisdom and contemporary science.
And that leaves us with one last big, thought-provoking question. If a connection like this is even possible here, what other ancient practices or guidelines from traditions all over the world might also have some scientific backing that we just haven't figured out yet? It's a pretty amazing question to think about.